everyone, I'm attorney Aiden Durham with 180 Law Co. in Colorado. Welcome back to All Up in Your Business, where today we're going to talk about what to do if you find yourself on the receiving end of a copyright infringement or DMCA takedown notice. Before we get into all of that fun stuff, please be sure to subscribe if you haven't already done so. Click that little bell so you get notified anytime I post a new video, and check the description for links to additional information and resources. And a quick legal disclaimer, I am a lawyer, but I am not your lawyer. The stuff I talk about in this video isn't a substitute for actual legal advice. If you need help with any kind of legal situation, you should consult with a lawyer and don't just rely on free info you get from YouTube. So, big shout out to Damian Wilson on Twitter. He tagged me, or I guess in Twitter added me, atted me, whatever. He tagged me in a post from another user about a DMCA copyright infringement kind of takedown notice. Let's take a look at that post. So in this post by Chris Coyer, it's probably Coyer, it's probably something French, I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. Whatever, Chris, this poster, he's saying he got an email about a DMCA copyright infringement notice, and he includes a screenshot of that email. It says, "Hi, dear owner of website, my name is blank, blank, blank. I'm emailing you since one of the copyright images on your website belongs to our client. The image is used without appropriate reference. The image is used on your website at this link. The use and sharing is allowed, but only when appropriate image credit is attributed and is required. Text credit to this other company must be put under the image or in a suitable location." And on the offending page goes on to say, hey, backlink to this thing. And Chris in his post goes on to kind of analyze this email and eventually explains why it's fake and he should ignore it and why you should do so as well. So if you receive something like a DMCA takedown notice or a copyright infringement notice, a cease and desist letter, you may notice I'm wearing my cheese and desist sweatshirt today in honor of this video because it has to do with cease and desists. But so if you find yourself on the receiving end of one of these letters, what do you do about it? How do you know, number one, if it's actually real or if it's one of these fake kind of phishing emails or just a blatant outright scam? And what do you do about it if it's fake or real? First, let's talk about what DMCA even means. So DMCA stands for the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. The main functions of the DMCA is that it creates like a notice and takedown system for online service providers. Mainly these are things like social media platforms, website hosts, stuff like that, these online service providers. It creates the system so that copyright owners or copyright holders can report to the platform, the online system can report instances of copyright infringement to the platform and have those infringing materials or that content removed from the platform. Now they make it sound like this is for our benefit, for the copyright holders' benefit, making it easy for us to have infringing content removed from social media platforms and stuff, which it is for our benefit, but really it's mostly for the online service providers' benefit. It provides a system for them to get out of being liable for these copyright infringement activities that occur on their platforms. Either way, the DMCA creates this system for us to report instances of copyright infringement to social media platforms to have them remove that content. And DMCA, the act, the DMCA Act, is within kind of the greater, broader umbrella of the United States Copyright Act. So it's part of our federal copyright statutes. And so, like we saw in this post on Twitter, what often happens is that people or companies will pose as copyright owners or copyright holders, or sometimes law firms or lawyers, or they'll pose as agents of the copyright owner and send out these DMCA notices or copyright infringement, cease and desist or demand letters. And often they'll look really official. Everything, you know, appears to be okay. This seems like a real thing. And they want you to maybe remove content from your website or social media account. They might want you to click a link or add attribution or a backlink or something like what we saw in that example. Or sometimes they'll demand that you pay money or take some other action. Otherwise, they will pursue their legal rights, like copyright infringement lawsuits, that kind of thing. The big takeaway, regardless of even if we're not sure if this is real or fake yet, don't ignore these notices. Don't ignore them, because if it is real, if it is a legitimate claim, a legitimate notice, you're gonna need to do something about it. Copyright infringement, for the most part, is a strict liability thing. And that means that it doesn't really matter if you were even aware of it, if you were the person who posted the infringing content, if you did it accidentally or unknowingly, that really doesn't matter. If you're in control of what was posted on your website or on your social media account or something, you're responsible for copyright infringement. So let's say you're developing a new website, you hire a website designer to create the website, the designer posts all the photos, and then there's some copyright infringement issue because of one of the photos. It doesn't matter that the designer did it all. If you're the website owner, you're the one responsible for copyright infringement issues. So like I said, the first thing we need to determine is this fake? Or is this something we need to take seriously and actually pay attention to? How do we tell if something is a fake notice? So let's start again with the DMCA. I said that it provides a system for us to report infringing activity to online service providers. That means that these notices are supposed to be sent to the service provider, not directly to the infringing party. So the first thing that might be a good kind of tip off is if you are getting an email sent directly to you about a DMCA takedown notice, it's probably fake unless it's coming directly from the platform. If I'm on Instagram and I see someone has used one of my videos or used a photo without my authorization and they posted it to Instagram, I'm not going to send the person, that account, a DMCA takedown notice. I'm going to file the notice with Instagram, the platform, I guess technically Facebook or Meta, but I'm going to file that notice with the platform itself because that's what the DMCA has done. It's created a system for us to report to the platform, and then the platform removes that content. So that's the first tip off. If it's purporting to be a DMCA takedown notice, but it's coming directly from the copyright owner, you know, it's probably fake because they should be submitting that claim to the online service provider or the platform itself. But often these are just kind of copyright infringement cease and desist letters or demand letters, not necessarily referencing DMCA or calling itself a DMCA takedown notice. So the next thing is to say, well, did I actually do what it's saying I did? Did I use the content that it's referring to, whether it's a specific photo or a few photos or a music file or something like that? If I get it about my website, is this photo on my website, or has this photo at some point been on my website? If no, then, you know, you can respond back and say, no, I don't know what you're talking about. That's not my website, whatever. Or it might be fake and they're just trying to scare you into paying them money or something. If it was on your website, if you did actually use that content, then you want to ask yourself, well, did I have authorization to do it? In the letter, it might say, you know, you didn't have a license to use this image. Maybe you did actually have a license to use the image and the law firm or the lawyer who sent that letter wasn't aware of it. So did you actually do the thing, and were you actually authorized to do the thing? If the answers are yes, I did it, and no, I wasn't authorized to do it, I didn't have a license, then it's more likely that this is a legit letter or a legit claim that you need to take seriously. Is this notice or this letter coming from a law firm or a lawyer or a legal department? Usually they will. Not all the time, not everyone hires a lawyer, but specifically I mean, you know, larger companies, they're going to have either their in-house legal department or an outside counsel, outside lawyer handle these things for them. So if it looks like it's coming from a lawyer or a law firm or a legal department, we need to verify that those things are actually real lawyers, real law firms, real companies. Because let's take a look at that tweet again that started this whole thing. This guy kept digging and found that not only was this law firm or this company not real, the lawyers, the people that were shown on their fake website weren't even real people, allegedly. It was an AI generated images or something of people. So the company was fake and the people were fake. So just because something says it's being sent by a lawyer or a law firm doesn't necessarily mean that's true. Luckily, we can verify lawyers and their licensure status. So if they indicate where their office or their law firm is located, you can check with the State Bar Association in their state to see if they're actually licensed, actual real licensed attorneys. And assuming this is coming from a lawyer or a law office, the communications should look and sound professional. Of course, we're not perfect people. We make errors and mistakes. I make typos and grammatical errors every once in a while, not often, but it happens. So, you know, there could very well be a typo or a grammatical error in one of these real legit letters or notices. But if they're excessive, if it's excessively grammatically incorrect, or if it just doesn't sound professional, that's an indicator that this may not be a legit thing. And that goes with follow-up communications too. If it's a real lawyer, a real law firm, they're going to communicate with you like a real human does. If you respond to this letter or this email, they should reply back. If you call the law office, they should eventually maybe call you back or actually be willing to speak with you on the phone and engage with you like a normal human does. If it's some kind of a fake company or a fake lawyer, they might be much more aversive to actually engaging in conversation about this issue with you. All right, so if we've gone through all that, we've determined, yeah, I did use this. No, I didn't have a license for it. This lawyer, this law firm, this company looks legit. This is all probably real. Is that where we stop the investigation? No, of course not. We still want to make sure that the lawyer or the person who's contacting us on behalf of the copyright owner is actually authorized to act on behalf of the copyright owner. So we can request verification that they are actually representing the copyright owner, the copyright holder, or that they are authorized to act on behalf of that person. Hi, Rocky. Hey, pal. Thanks for joining, buddy. You want to talk about copyrights too? Okay, good boy. And again, like I said, we'll do that. All right, pal, I'm going to keep talking again. Okay. And again, like I said, if this is a lawyer or a law firm, they will respond to a request. Say, hey, I've received your letter. I'm investigating it, but just for my own knowledge, can you please provide some verification that you do represent copyright owner? And the lawyer will respond and say, yeah, sure. Here's, you know, some documentation about that. Might be a redacted engagement letter or something. They'll send you something. That shouldn't be a problem. This is a reasonable request to make sure you are who you say you are. We also want to verify that the copyright owner actually owns the content or the material that is the subject of this letter. So yeah, maybe this copyright owner does exist, and yes, this law firm does represent that copyright owner, but does that copyright owner actually own the rights and the copyrights in this work that we're dealing with? Again, the lawyer or the person on the other side should be able to easily verify that for you and prove to you, yes, we represent this person, and yes, this person does own this work that we're talking about. And then finally, we want to take into consideration, what is this letter asking us to do? What's this notice asking of us? If everything else lines up and seems like, okay, this is probably legit, are they just asking us to remove the content from our website or our social media or something? Are they just saying, hey, we noticed you did this, just take it down, not a big deal? Then it's probably legit. If it's a phishing scam or something, what are they going to get out of you? Just take it down. So that lends more to that this is a real legit claim. Are they asking you to add some kind of attribution or credit for the copyright owner? That, again, might be 50-50. That could be a legitimate ask and a legitimate request and something you could easily do and get the matter taken care of. But like we saw in that previous example, sometimes it's a fake attribution or a backlink to some other website or something. That probably wouldn't be legit. But it's kind of a toss-up, 50-50. If they're asking you to pay money or demanding that you pay money, that's going to be unclear. Again, it's kind of 50-50. Because even with a legit, real copyright infringement demand or claim, it's not out of the ordinary for them to say, hey, you have to pay us maybe a few $100 to account for your unauthorized use of that image previously, or whatever the case may be. But again, if it's just asking you to take down the content, it's probably real, because that, you know, a scammer is not going to really benefit from that. But if they're asking you to like click a link, fill out a form, submit payment info, or, you know, do anything that could actually benefit this other party, then we want to make sure this is a real legit thing, so we don't go, you know, downloading malware or giving our financial info to scammers or something like that. So, okay, if it's fake, what do we do about it? If it's obviously fake, or obviously a phishing scam or something, ignore it. Don't do anything. Don't send money, don't send info, don't click links, don't do anything. Delete, ignore. You can also report it to the FTC, to the Federal Trade Commission. You can go to, the website is reportfraud.ftc.gov to submit a complaint there. But aside from that, and I mean, you know, if these are like serious fraudulent activities, there are other potentially criminal fraud issues that can arise, but as the person receiving this letter, the things that we can actually do about it are pretty minimal, aside from ignoring it, reporting it to the FTC, or reporting it to other agencies or platforms, depending on the situation. If we've investigated though, and we've decided, ooh, this is probably real, I probably shouldn't just ignore that. I think this is a legit letter, and I actually did what they said I did. So if we verified that it's real and verified that this is a legitimate thing we need to deal with, of course, we need to consider and assess if there's an actual copyright infringement going on. This, of course, I would suggest consulting with a lawyer to see if this claim is legitimate, or if you have some maybe affirmative defense like fair use. Just because someone's saying you infringed on their copyright doesn't mean that you infringed on their copyright. You may have some defense to avoid some kind of liability. And there are sometimes options, specifically if a copyright owner is kind of abusing the DMCA system or sending bad faith notices, then there are some options to hold them accountable for that as well. But assuming that's not the case, assuming you did, let's say, post this photo on your social media account or use this photo on your website, and you know the claims that this letter is making are legit, then you know, don't try to make excuses. Don't say, oh, I didn't know, or oh, it was only one photo, or oh, my social media manager posted it. Don't try to get out of responsibility for it unless you legitimately aren't responsible or liable for it. But don't make excuses. Take down the content if they're asking you to do that, and if it's still up live somewhere, take it down, and then try to negotiate if you can. Often these letters, if they don't just want you to take down the content, they might ask for some money. Try to negotiate that. Statutory damages, so if a copyright owner has a registered copyright and they are successful in their copyright infringement claims, statutory damages generally range from $750 to $30,000 per work. Those damages could potentially be as low as $200 if it can be proven that the infringer had no reason to believe that there was infringement going on, completely wasn't aware of it. So damages could range, you know, from as low as $200 up to many, many hundreds of thousands of dollars, depending on the situation. So keep that in mind. If they're asking you for $10,000 because there was one instance of unauthorized use of one one photo, you know, say, hey, how about like $100? Because you could potentially only get 200 even if you sued me for it. So negotiate with them. Try to, you know, if they're insisting that you pay something, negotiate that down. And then most importantly, learn a lesson from this. The biggest takeaway, which happens to the best of us, you guys. It happens regardless of how careful we are. It takes some time to learn that we can't just use stuff on the internet without a license or authorization. Just because something is posted online doesn't mean it's in the public domain and that anyone can use it. Photos, music, any kind of creative content has copyright ownership behind it, and so you need license or proper authorization to use it almost always. So it's an expensive lesson to learn sometimes, but that really is ultimately the biggest takeaway that you can get from a situation like this is I need to be more careful about the content that I'm using. And there you have it, folks. If you learned a thing or two, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. And again, don't forget to subscribe and click that little bell so you get notified when I post a new video. Speaking of copyrights and copyright infringement, I have an entire video dedicated completely to how to legally use copyrighted music on social media and YouTube and other platforms. So if you want to keep this copyright train going, you can click right here to check that video out. I'll see you guys over there. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Aiden Durham, and I'll see you next time.